This episode of Small Business Leaders Podcast is brought to you by Adams Lane Photography.
Hello and welcome to the Small Business Leaders Podcast, brought to you from the Legacy Podcast Studio in Kernersville, North Carolina. My name is Lamar Powell, and this is my beautiful co-host, Audra Adams.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode. Today we have guests in our studio, Brian and Cheryl Albricht, who own To the Moon and Back frozen treats. We have a lot of questions.
And I'm happy.
I know.
It's this ice cream.
Let's get into it. Hi, and welcome to Brian and Cheryl Albricht. We are so happy to have you in the studio today.
Happy to be here.
Thank you for having us.
And I'm really happy. This is about ice cream.
This is about ice cream, but it's about
And
so
much
much
more.
more. Much more.
Desserts. Yes.
Stop. I'm going to have to give him a pill
I'm
or
gonna
something.
be in trouble.
You really are. Your wife
I'm
is
gonna be in
your
trouble.
wife is going to be getting
Uh-oh.
on you.
Yeah.
So we are so glad that you came on today. You have a really fascinating story that we want to dive into. Just like with anybody, we want to start at the beginning. So we'll start with the name of your business. Go ahead and tell us that.
So the name of our business was not our initial name choice.
Okay.
He knows this story, so that's why he's laughing. I love the saying "live, laugh, love,"
Yeah.
and so I wanted my business name to be Lick, Laugh, Love.
Oh, I can see
And
you.
well, yes, yeah. Well,
She didn't see the problem.
I didn't see that problem, and neither did anyone else in talking about this until we started setting up our LLC. And the lawyers at Wake Forest, the students said, "You might want to rethink that." It never even dawned on me that it could be taken sexually. Okay, so I was a little naive. And so we tried to come up with a name for a long time. And we have 4 adopted sons. And I happened to look up and see the plaque that we did with pictures when the adoptions were all final. And it said, "I love you to the moon and back." And so that just kind of stuck.
Oh, I have chills.
So we basically shortened it and condensed it a little bit. But yeah, that's how we named our business.
And how
That's great.
long ago was this?
The business started officially in April of 2017.
Wow.
So it's been a few years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about the two of you first. Are you from Winston originally?
No.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
Go for it, Brian.
Okay.
I'm a transplant, but I'm originally from Ohio, and we have a lot of ice cream up there. I grew up with a lot of different dairies and farms up there, so that kind of led in eventually probably to where we ended up. Obviously, just didn't know it. But I moved down here in the late 90s, and we ended up working together.
Why did
We'll
you
get
move
there in
down
a
here in the
minute, I'm
late 90s? What happened to make you?
I was previously married, and we just chose to move venues, basically.
Oh,
Living spaces, and
Gotcha.
It was
come
too
down
cold
here.
in Ohio for him.
It
And
really
I
is.
didn't like the cold.
Yeah.
But now I'm in the frozen treats industry, so I'm not sure.
What did you do previously?
What didn't I do?
Yeah, okay.
Well,
I like this.
yeah. I mean, I'm kind of a jack of all trades.
That's awesome.
Hopefully, I'm a master of some. But I started out in floral design and was going to school for that. Ended up working in a floral shop for about 5 years.
Yeah.
Then that was right when we left and moved down to North Carolina. From North Carolina, went into the rental car business. Ended up in management there. From the rental car business, after another 5 to 6 years or so, decided to kind of leave there, venture out, try to get into a little bit more of a techie, because I like that. I like the training and the tech side, the teaching side of things that I was doing in that position. And from there, then I started to try to do something else. It didn't really pan out. Then I went to an entrepreneur. It's still in me. So I started my own candy bouquet business out of High Point, North Carolina. And that went well for about a year or so, but we were investing too much of our personal money into it. So, and we were
And I
operating.
lost my job at the same time.
And she
so-
lost her job. Yep. So it's kind of one of those sink or swim things, and we sank. So we got back up on our feet and ended up putting myself back through college, through working in the sign business. So I ended up managing a sign business while I went through school. And once I was done with the education part, I went into teaching for 14 years, which is a previously where I just kind of left that in
Teaching
February of last year.
just in
Elementary,
elementary.
second, third, and fourth grades.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Oh, bless your heart.
Yeah.
For 14
wow.
years.
Yes.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
And then I came on board to help us because I saw the writing on the wall where we're going. And I said, she can't do this alone. And I was ready to exit that.
Yes.
And
He was
so-
burnt. He had burned himself out of teaching.
Yeah, I mean it's
only
not for the
imagine,
faint
yeah.
of heart.
No.
My daughter is a teacher, and just this is her first official school year
Oh, heaven help
as
her.
a
Oh, boy.
teacher, and yeah, it's been a wild little ride. There's been some tears.
Oh, I'm
Let's
sure.
put it that way.
There'll be more tears
More
shed
to
still
come.
too. Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. Okay, so now we get over to you.
So my side, I've done pretty much the gamut of everything as well, from management and so forth. I was in school working at the airport, working in the car rental industry, and I used to steal his customers because I worked for a small local car rental company versus one of the big giant ones. And I would sit over there and jingle keys to steal people out of his line.
Oh my goodness.
I absolutely love it.
This is great.
And at the
Yeah.
time, I didn't have really great health insurance, but he worked for the bigger company that had great health insurance.
Yeah.
And so basically, he hired me to work for them.
I could not pursue her, but another employee could.
Could.
So they lured her over, and I hired her because I knew how good she was
Oh, wow.
with her sales and everything.
That's. I'm having flashbacks when Heather, one time we were flying, and we went to probably a car rental place like yours, and my picture, she's yelling at him. You can't do that. And then it was one like yours. You just described was like.
I mean, I had brand new cars and everything. There was nothing different, and I would match the price. So there was a win-win for them to get them back to the hotel room.
So I have that in my mind.
my
so that's
goodness.
great. I'm glad they had those types.
Yes.
So, are you originally from the Triad?
I am born and raised in North Carolina. I am not from the Triad. I'm from Cary, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Okay.
I moved to the Triad to go to school at UNCG, and I found that I was far enough away from mom and dad. I didn't have to worry about them showing up nightly or weekly,
There's a
monthly,
a good
yearly. They never showed up.
Oh no.
Not completely true, but they just didn't show up. But I was close enough where I could get home if I needed to and get back home. And so, yeah, I've been here since 1990 in the Triad.
Oh wow, that is amazing. So what was your schooling in?
I have a bachelor's of science degree in recreation parks and tourism. And so I did finally work with that job for a while. And I was working in Rockingham County in a little small town called Mayodan.
Oh, I know Mayodan and
Whoa.
Madison.
Yeah.
and- yeah.
And so I worked for the Madison Mayodan Recreation Department, and I was their senior services director. And so I got to do fun activities with senior citizens and go on trips with them, and had a blast.
Oh, that sounds like
It was the
fun.
best job I ever had that I left, because I used to be able to travel with them and had a lot of flexibility with that job as well. But the pay wasn't there, and I left for another job, and it didn't pan out so well. And suddenly I'd put someone else, make sure that my seniors were taken care of, and had made sure they had someone in place. So there was no going back to that job.
Oh.
So, yeah. So I had to pivot and figure out what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And so you pivoted to the car rental?
No, I went from the car rental initially. That's before we got married.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So just so I'm clear, I'm of the courtship here. You noticed her, and you noticed him, and you were competition, and you were stealing her clients, and you wanted to pursue her. In what
Not
way?
exactly that way. No,
Not
I was still
completely.
married at the time, but we were starting to do the rocky itch there. And so then after
That has got to be a clip right there. It's got to be a clip.
so then it's just kind of, I hired her for her business sense, and
Yeah,
she was very competitive. Obviously in the rental car business, the extra sales were there. That's the
Highly
bottom line.
lucrative in that.
Yeah, so she was extremely good at those, and her personality and hospitality is her God-given gift. It's literally been tested at the churches. Comes back as her God-given gift is hospitality, and it's true. And she would make the customers always feel welcome, and Greensboro, and she'd take care of them, bend over backwards to make sure they were taken care of, and that's exactly what I wanted. As a manager there too. Then she ended up moving out of under my.
I was promoted.
Yeah, she was actually promoted to the back end of the business, so I didn't have to work directly with her. And at that point, split happens. We find out from a mutual friend that what if you knew somebody liked you, but she didn't say who, and I'm like, who do you, like guessing.
As people talk.
I guessed.
Yeah,
I guessed right. So she kind of hooked us up as a blind date type of thing, almost blind. We knew each other, but it was like,
But
okay.
our first date was in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah.
That's a getaway date.
Yes. I was
It kind
playing
of was.
club soccer at
She
the
played
time.
soccer.
And
I know
was
anything
away
about
for a soccer tournament. And he happened to have the weekend off. He agreed to watch my dog, which was fine. And suddenly he was off. And so we pivoted and took the dogs. Dogs stayed in the hotel room with us. And
The rest is history.
rest is history.
And we ended up getting married in Charleston, too.
Yes.
Oh.
23 years later, we're still married. And
Yeah.
That wasn't on that first date, but.
no.
That would have been a really good clip. If that
Yeah. One date done.
I mean,
Yeah.
there have been some. I don't know
Yeah.
how successful
So-
they've been after 20-some years
Yeah.
after that one, but yeah. Okay, so now we are to where you're married.
We're married.
You're
yes.
married, and y'all. You look like you had a question.
No, I'm waiting for the ice cream.
I knew that was coming.
She can read my mind. See?
Well, we're giving
That's a
you
good
the scoop
salesperson.
first, and then
Yeah.
we get to serve you the
Yeah.
ice cream, right?
We're getting
I'm being
both-
patient.
We're getting 2 scoops.
Yeah.
Okay.
Double
Actually,
dipper.
technically, you have a full pint.
Oh,
But this doesn't count as your pint for the week.
yeah. I need another co-host for this. Keep me out of trouble.
Oh, he did not.
I didn't hear that either.
That's a clip.
That's a clip. Okay. So you got married and you were both continuing in the same vocation that you had started in, or no? You
No.
were transitioning out of that?
He was actually, at the time we got married. Where were you?
I'm trying to remember what I was doing.
I was going to say, what were you doing when we got married? I know
think
where
I
I
was
was.
still-
I had gone to back to work for the company I left as a manager.
Oh, cool.
And he was still there at that point.
Yeah, and it wasn't long after that we announced our engagement. Um, 'cause we
Literally
kept-
on my last day there, when I took the promotion at the other employer, we announced that we were engaged, and they thought we were playing a joke on them.
Oh no.
And you
We
wanted.
like to play
We
jokes.
kept it
Yeah.
down
Yeah,
low.
there were so few people that knew that we were even dating. We had different phone numbers set up. We were living together, and we always knew what was happening at work when we weren't there because we would report back to each other.
Y'all are sneaky.
That's pretty good.
Y'all are sneaky
that's
smart.
really
Yeah,
good.
power management team there.
Yeah. Okay, so how does this translate into the beginnings of To the Moon and Back? So this is where I want to get into that
Yeah.
middle
Yeah.
section that pulled at my heartstrings that I knew
Yeah.
kind of. I know
Most-
a little bit about this.
Most of the time of that time period, I was probably teaching.
Yes.
She got me into school and helped me tremendously. Got that finished. We were living in High Point, and we lived there for about 10 years. And then when I went into teaching, I forget where you were at that point, but anyways, I kind of into the teaching mode at this point, and then she'll tell you kind of what happens during that time.
Okay.
That's what I guess I'm trying to say.
He was heavy into the teaching mode. So basically in 2016, 2017, late 2016, I was looking for a little side hustle to do to help pay off some credit card debt from trying to conceive a child.
That's what got me. I mean, so had y'all spent a long time
Well,
trying?
we had spent about 10 years. Oh, no, not 10 years, about 6 years at that point and not having any success. And I've tried a couple rounds of IUI and didn't have any success. He had said to me, let's adopt. I wasn't there yet. And literally in December of 2014, we started talk. I was finally open to talking about possibilities. And so we ended up fostering children. Our first child was a little foster girl, and she had him wrapped around his pinky. And in kindergarten, she had so much drama, and so I went back to the organization and said, we'd love to foster more. She went back to her birth mom, and but I said, I really prefer to foster boys. And at the time, they had a lot more foster boys in the system than girls because they were so much more high-strung. And just a few weeks later, we ended up with 2 boys.
No, we had one
There was
first.
one in between as well, too. But, yeah, there was like a little miniature Brian. And he was glasses and everything. And so, yeah.
So you fostered, and then those two children moved
No, she
on.
kind of stopped.
Oh,
We
was she
fostered-
throwing it to you? Is
I
that
guess
what's happening?
so.
Throwing back to
She
him.
Okay.
fostered. We fostered the first two individual, and then we had a group special needs, basically what they call it. Though they weren't
There weren't special
handicapped
needs.
or anything like that. But when they come in groups, it's called a special need. So we had a brothers set that came in. There was two, and then there was a third one. The third one kind of came in shortly but left. Then right at that same point, we ended up getting two more. So we had four. And the other two were going to go off to the original two that we started with. We're going off to a home up in Stokes County. And so we made all the great, connections with their new foster family, got them moved out. Now we're down to two. Well, then we had two for about, a year?
Yeah,
Something
a
like
year.
that.
We found out that they had two other
And there's
siblings.
two other brothers that were being fostered somewhere else from another family, and we thought that we'll adopt these two, they'll adopt these two. Those two that weren't living with us then came available because that family decided they could not take on two more with something else they had going on. So then these two came to visit. I guess let me start
Yes,
there.
it was a weekend visit.
Yeah, just to
and
see how it would go and if we could handle all four. And it's one of those things where you look back in your minivan at that point, which we were driving, and you got all
You'd
four.
love to drive that minivan.
Yeah, no,
That
didn't-
minivan has built me a house or two. I mean,
Yeah.
I love.
Not for Daddy.
I know it's not anymore, but
I drove her
miss
for a
it.
while, but I didn't like
He
it.
didn't like it.
But looking in the back and you see all four together, and you want to raise them up with the same morals and values, and instead of having them split and meet a long time later on and try to compare notes and all that stuff. So we just decided at that point we were going to try to take on, and of course we involved our two foster kids at that time.
To get
'Cause
their
they-
input to see if they wanted us to adopt all their
Yeah.
siblings
And
or if
their
they just wanted to be alone.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, their adoption was already in the process.
We'd already started the process with them,
Yeah.
yeah. Parental rights had already been terminated on those
got
two,
it.
so yeah.
So then we got the other two, and we asked for their permission to bring them on. They were like, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
I don't know if they'd say that today.
Right. Let's not, they're not here. We're not asking.
That's
We're
right.
just going to assume it's tied in a tidy little bow
Yeah.
right there, just like all families that have
Yeah.
children.
Yes.
Yeah, I just think that's wonderful. It's amazing.
It really is.
Yeah.
So how your life really changed so drastically.
Very much so.
I mean,
From having none to, at one point, we had
Had
five
five,
kids in a 3-bedroom house.
yeah.
It was 1,600 square feet, and we were all on top of each other.
Sure.
And they were all boys.
Except for her dog and her. That was
Yeah.
it.
So when that process, you're in there. That's fine. You can kick me under the table. It's fine. You get this process done, and you are still dealing with the medical bills and debt from trying to conceive on
Right.
your own. So tell us then how this comes about, because I love this part.
So this is where the entrepreneur in me comes out. He had tried his hand at another business before. It was successful, but he didn't generate enough revenue. It was so time consuming. And so I was looking to do a bubble sports. And so I was talking to the youth minister at church, and she said, "Oh, we had that here." She's like, "We actually have it in the gym now." And I said, "Okay, I'm on my way. Can I come now?" And I went and met with him, and she said the kids had a blast doing it. But that was 4 weeks ago, and no one's asked to do it again. And field space is such a hot commodity in this area with all the soccer and the lacrosse that I just felt like it was going to be a one and done. So yes, I could get rentals for the first go around, so maybe a good season, and then after that, it wasn't going to pan out very well. She said, "If I were you, I would look into doing a sunset slush."
Oh.
And so I came home with this great idea and did a little research about Sunset Slush and said, okay, how can I do this? And I went down and met with the actual owners of Sunset Slush down at Sunset Beach, and had
That's where I go all the time. So,
Really?
yeah.
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 and
Is that's on me?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
yeah, and I'm sure you've had Sunset Slush
I
before.
haven't.
No.
You've
but
never?
we will next time.
No, but we will.
So at the time, their franchise fee was a little bit more than what we could handle. At this point, we had 4 or 5 kids in the house, and didn't have still a whole lot of discretionary income, extra income.
Sure.
Because it was all being eaten away. and
Literally.
yeah, literally eaten away, and
Still is.
still is to this day.
Now they're teenagers.
And so basically, yeah, that's.
So you went and said, okay,
So I couldn't do their startup cost,
Right.
and they tried to talk me out of doing it, to be honest, because they saw how much work was involved with it, and you how much sweat equity it takes to build a business up. And I said, well, I can do that. I've got boys. I can do that. Now, at the time, my children were 8 and 10 years old, roughly.
yeah.
And so they didn't really have a whole lot of muscles. But I figured, well, I could scoop the Italian ice, and they can be my bankers. And so I taught my 8-year-old at the time, who was my worker at the time, how to count cash back to customers. And he would come away with events making more money in tip money than I had even in sales.
That's awesome.
So it taught them a little bit as well about too.
So what kind of equipment did you have to start with? And
So I started off with a landscape trailer and a used freezer on wheels. And because the only thing,
you find?
I mean, I didn't have to have a health grade certification or anything. I just had to have Department of Ag and had to have a permit. And so I started my LLC with that.
You started taking this to games. Where did
Initially, we set up in Stokesdale at Stokesdale Park. At the time, we literally were living about 3 miles away from there. And so we paid the money to sponsor a soccer team.
Okay.
So, tax refund time came. We bought the landscape trailer, and I bought a used freezer that I put wheels on, slapped our logo on it because we had lots of friends in the sign business as well, hence before.
Right.
And, well, it goes even deeper than that, too. And that's how it started. And first weekend, soccer season came around. We had a great first day. We were able to roll it down. But, man, talking about something being heavy when it's full of Italian ice.
So to get it back up on the trailer.
Well, as long as you sold a lot, it wasn't bad at all. But if it was full, you were, it was not pretty. But, yeah.
And so how did that transition? So walk
So
me through.
we've taken baby steps pretty much the entire way. So we started off with that. It's probably year and a half, 2 years in.
Something like that, yeah.
There was a cart that was available for sale that would literally just hook to the hitch of my SUV.
Wow.
And so it was all self-contained. I didn't have to push anything. All I had to do was back up the trailer. And even with a couple of years of experience, I never did learn how to back up that trailer.
And it had a very short tongue on it.
It had a really short tongue,
Oh,
so
yeah.
it was really hard to maneuver as well,
Turned really
too. And
quick.
even though I know the physics behind how it works, I couldn't wrap my brain around it at the time.
Yeah, but I bet you felt like you won the lottery.
Oh, I did,
like
yeah.
You're like riding in luxury.
I
It's
did.
right here.
Yeah. And then 2020 happened. Well, we all know what happened in 2020. I actually went to my parents' house in Garner to take care of my mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd been looking for a high-rise truck to put all my stuff in a truck and just drive it to venues. And I came upon a really great deal, and I jumped on it because we had the cash and reserves at this point because we've been doing it for a couple of years in sales, and bought one in Raleigh. And he came up with our son and his mom and picked it up and drove it back home. Got it all cleaned up for us, and bam, we threw a wrap on there, and
Cleaned up was
yeah, it was a heavy cleanup. I mean, it had been a heavy heating and air
yeah.
plumber's truck, and they just abused the daylights out of the cargo room in the back.
Oh, wow. Well, so a couple of things I like to hit on here that I'm hearing that I think is valuable for our viewers and our listeners. And this is a theme, so I bring it up almost every time because this is what our guests bring up. Is everybody is saying start small, start where you're at, start with what you have, and then as you gain the revenue and you gain traction, you level up and you
Yes.
level up, but you don't
Overspend
don't,
and
indulge
in anything.
And you also knew what you were doing it for. So did you have another job still at that time, or
When we started initially, yes, I did. And so
Okay.
that allowed me to only be able to do it on the weekends.
so then you were able to get your debt handled, and then it was just profit,
Pretty much, yeah.
pretty much. And so I think that's very important to continue to say, if you're smart about things, number
can be
one,
done.
It can be done. It just takes time.
And a lot of hard work and a lot of sweat equity.
Yeah. But,
But small chunks at a time.
right.
Yeah.
For sure. So then we get to the truck. Do you have any
what
questions?
challenges up to that point that you feel like you faced.
Well, really, COVID for us really helped us. I had a lot of connections in the community, especially with him being a school teacher. And, kids
Good
love
job.
things that are frozen and cold and desserts that are sugary sweet. And so that got me in there at the elementary school. We give a lot back to the community as well, too.
It's still one of our top priorities. Is
Yes, we
and
love
do
giving back.
Education and the arts is kind of our places.
We
that
love
like to
hearing
go.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you was able to do a pivot during COVID.
Yeah, where
where
a
it
lot of
benefited
places
you.
struggled
Yep.
because we were already mobile. We were able to just go straight into neighborhoods, and we'd say, here's where we're coming. Here are the flavors people could pre-order, and we'd have their quarts already ready to go for them.
Yeah.
If they didn't want to order a quart, they could wait in line and we would service them then.
And did you do that primarily with social media as far
Yes.
as letting that neighborhood know?
Absolutely, yes.
I know back in Louisiana, that's where I'm from. I've been here a year. So I've seen a couple of entrepreneurs do that type of thing. And I was really amazed at it. They would announce a week in advance a particular neighborhood,
Yeah.
maybe at a particular park, and they would go set up there. And it got such attention. I know my wife even like, we need to go do business with them or something. And I was shocked at the crowd.
Yes.
And I had to wait for a good amount of
not
time
bitter
to get
about
served.
that.
Heaven forbid.
But I thought it was, man, you got something going.
So who was the savvy social media person?
I'm giggling at that because she did start it. I knew nothing about it, but now it is falling on me.
Now he's in charge of marketing as well.
Yeah. So I've learned a lot.
It's one of the many hats he wears. And sometimes we share the hat. It just depends.
So I know you were on Facebook. Was it
Facebook
your
and-
most attention there? And
Facebook
Instagram?
and Instagram, and we just recently got onto X just for
On X,
just to
yeah.
kind of keep our eye on it, and maybe you'll see
I
some
like
things
X
out
a
there.
lot. Yeah.
I don't even know X.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's changed.
I know
anyway.
element of P, but not X.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, but it's all changed anyway. If you knew anything,
Yeah.
it's a different animal now. What about TikTok?
We have not done TikTok yet,
So
but
you-
I'm
that's
pushing
a
him
little
for
bit-
TikTok.
I need to do TikTok.
I got to get in there and play with it to learn a little bit
Yeah.
better. I was actually more familiar with X or Twitter. It used to formerly,
right.
artist formerly known as Twitter, than she was anyways, because I've had school accounts and follow education things
okay.
on
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Okay.
And that's more succinct and, kind of
Yeah.
like that. But
Okay, so now we're COVID.
And suddenly the government started announcing that they would do all these loans. And so we were able to secure a small loan through the EIDL loan. And suddenly we started looking for properties. Well, we were already looking for a property to lease anyway. I was tired of buying product frozen wholesale and paying for frozen shipping to North Carolina from New Jersey and New York.
Oh,
So I wanted to be able to, I'd been watching hours upon hours of videos of learning how to make product myself. And so we found this space that was opening in Oak Ridge. So it was a perfect little place to get our feet wet. It was 750 square feet, and it was a rent that I felt like I could afford still. Even if it wasn't going to be a huge success, we still felt like we could still make ends meet. And so we signed the lease to go in. I did all the construction at that point. Demolition,
basically.
knock down the walls, use some free kid labor to haul it off.
we do that here.
Yes, and
Absolutely.
that's why I said a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and it was
Sure.
literally a lot of blood, sweat, and
Yes,
tears.
yeah.
Sometimes more blood than sweat. It just depends on the day.
On the day.
And we got in there, and literally 6 months into that, so we started selling ice cream from chest freezers
Okay.
because that was the training that I had had. That's how most of them started, with a small budget. And so I'd already secured the chest freezers, had buddies that would help move them in for me. We pulled out all the carpeting and redid the floor. And and so 6 months in, we signed. There was a minister from a church in Oak Ridge that came in and said, "I can't wait to see you expand into the space next door." We were just thrilled still to be there in 6 months, let
Yeah.
alone expand. I went to bed that night dreaming of how I could go into that next space. And so 6 months in, we signed the lease to go into both spaces.
Oh, wow. And
Yeah.
is this when you started making your own?
Well, we actually started in that 750 square foot space.
Okay.
So literally, we would sell up front in the front area, and then at night after we were closed, I would go in the back and make ice cream until midnight some nights,
Yeah.
so that I had ice cream for the next day because I had more customers to come in the next day. and we were closed on Mondays and Tuesdays at that point. We still kept the after school hours. I'm not a morning person whatsoever.
I know, it was funny when we were talking about what time we should do this. She was like, I said, maybe afternoonish. And I said, or if you do morning. And she's like, I am not a morning person. I was like, me either. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you open it.
We open at 2. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I thought
Except for Saturdays and Sundays. Saturdays we open at noon, and Sundays we open at 1 to try to get people as they're coming back home from church before they actually get home. Because once they get home, they're not going to go back out most times.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So making the ice cream.
Yeah,
that didn't entail. What did that?
It's really not that overly difficult, but there is actually more science to it than what I was just doing at the time.
Yeah.
I was just replicating what I'd seen
Why?
done on
Okay,
videos.
wait. Your husband is like,
Yes.
what do you have to say about this?
That's a loaded question.
I'm ready. I've got a Kevlar
Yeah,
vest on.
I'm curious about that.
Oh, no. It's not deadly for you. It's just coming towards me.
I don't want to.
Well, like she said, she'd taught herself basically through online videos and things like that, and we did have an okay product at the beginning. We were making good progress there. We were making cool flavors. The customers were coming back. But then we did go to convention, which is our National Ice Cream Association convention.
Didn't know there was one of those.
Yes, there is.
There is. And we went to Fort Worth, Texas for this.
We thought our ice cream was great till we got there.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then we were, you get lots of samples, and you get to see it made, the products, you get to meet these people, and you're like, oh boy. So that was an eye-opener, wake-up call for us. So we learned and absorbed so much just through that trip. We took it back. We reevaluated everything we were doing, and then just started slowly making changes that we wouldn't be that obvious to the customers, but get improving our product, step by step. Yeah. Improving our offerings, getting in better quality products and things like that.
Getting rid of artificial coloring.
Yeah, so we now do all natural colorings that we use and don't really add sugar any too much. Many flavors don't call for sugar, so we don't put it in there unless it actually needs it. But at this point, I'm not a
recipe follower.
No.
Oh.
Never have been.
And
You'd be great in Louisiana.
Yeah.
Just add enough till it looks right. Yeah.
And you got to
always
have
been my motto.
consistency in the business because people are expecting it to taste the same the next time they
same.
come in.
And
So
that's
how many
important.
times did you have that exact conversation?
Many times.
Yeah, I can feel it.
So I kind of backed myself off of it a little bit because I was busy teaching too.
Sure.
But I would help her then during the summer with the management of the shop, basically, and started to think about how I can learn to make the ice cream to help her out. So she's not there till midnight, and we knew summer was coming. She needed to be out on the mobile side of things with the truck because she was the only one that could drive the truck.
So
I could drive it,
you never quit the truck.
No,
No.
never cut the truck.
Okay,
No.
It's
We
still up
actually-
and running. It's still my bread and butter.
You have that.
we have
Okay.
basically three locations if you include we call it the shuttle. So
That's so cool.
yeah. So
The shuttle to the
shuttle,
moon.
Shuttle, yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
base stations, and then that's the shuttle.
Ask them what we call our scoopers.
Oh, our scoopers are not just ice cream scoopers. That's too boring. We use astronauts.
Ah.
Yeah. So if you come in, you get to visit by an astronaut. But where was I at? Oh, anyhow, ice cream. Learning how to make that. I was following what she was saying. We were starting to write some recipes down so I could follow them.
Yeah.
I'm much more anal about all that stuff, so I was writing it down, making sure it was the same each time. We ended up with a smaller machine. Is what we were working
6-quart
on.
machine.
We were working on a 6-quart machine. When we went to convention, we saw a
All
company.
big new fancy machines with you can make a lot more ice cream at a time, which could help in some payroll expense.
Yeah. So, I mean, you think about the expense of the machine, and then you think about the payroll, the time that you're putting in to make the product, and the demand.
Right. So,
So
it
you'll
made
have
sense.
to
Yes,
balance
to
all of
upgrade.
that out.
Yeah. So with that in mind,
Yeah.
just like a pause, these conventions that so many entrepreneurs go to, you end up picking up things like that. Because I know for me, it's difficult for me because I go and you see something, this new, brand new, shiny. Man, we got to have that. But a lot of times, too, is what you just said about they have this larger piece to make us more efficient. We can save on payroll, and that helps with the bottom line. So that's an important
Correct.
Yes.
thing. So even, I mean, for entrepreneurs, going to whatever field that you're in, whatever your passion is, which for you guys is ice cream, to be able to go to that and network with people across the country is a really an important thing.
One of the themes for this ice cream association, they have this big motto, it's called Ice Cream People Helping Ice Cream People. And
Great
they're
motto.
very genuine in that.
Yes.
And you can ask anyone, they'll even share the recipes with you that they make. And it's just
I think
amazing.
it's important. Yeah. And I know for us, dealing with small business owners and entrepreneurs, is to try to remind our listeners or viewers, because we want to get these little nuggets out too as we hear your story. So obviously that was a very important thing for you guys to
And
be a part of.
Just to jump forward for a moment, we actually I made some friends during. I actually consult for the company that we ended up getting a bigger machine, which we'll come back to in a minute. But we ended up making some friends in class when I went to the class, which we'll tell you about that in a second. But we encouraged them as they were getting ready to open their own ice cream facility to really consider becoming a member of the association, attending the conference with us this year.
It's huge.
And so she's actually going to come down, and we're running an Airbnb together. And so she's and her husband have come down and learned from us just privately. So, it's, again, ice cream people helping ice cream people.
Yeah, and giving back, too. We talk about giving back to the community.
Yeah, and the arts.
And then giving
And
back.
that's just like my God gift is hospitality. His is education and teaching.
Yeah.
And this is right through in his career path.
And to do that in your market with fellow entrepreneurs. And it doesn't have to be just ice cream either, because there's lessons.
Correct.
Yes.
Everybody can learn from those things. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think it's a good point, teaching point.
Right.
So you start teaching for.
Well, I started making the ice cream.
Right, we're at the making.
Yeah.
Okay, we're
and
at the
so
making.
I'm making it that way. We went to convention. We ended up going. They have an auction. And the auction is to support funding for students that work for ice cream businesses. They provide scholarships for those students.
Nice.
So during the silent auction and live auction too, we ended up bidding on a training class, basically through a company called Carpigiani out of Italy, but they have their U.S. headquarters here, which we didn't know was right here in High Point.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know
Less
that.
than 10 miles from
we didn't know
our
it
shop.
either.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
we kind of actually, it was funny because we flew out to Fort Worth.
Fort Worth.
We flew out to Fort Worth with an employee of
Carpigiani.
there. We saw her at the convention. And so then when we came back, her flight got delayed, and we already kind of knew her by this point, and we hooked up at the end
At the
and
airport?
flew back together again. It was funny. So it was like a kismet or something. But anyways, I went to the class in March of 21, I think, and I don't know where I pulled that from, but March of 21, I went to the class and learned so much on how to make improvements and things. At this point, we were investing in the bigger machine because we saw what this type of machine can do for us.
Difference in quality.
And increase the quality too. And so I went to class there, went back, started applying all this stuff. We started looking at better suppliers, and that was kind of where we took another advanced step in that area. And lo and behold, about almost a year now, they reached out to me and said, "Would you like to come on board and be a chef with us?" And so I'm like, okay. So
Are you serious?
no. So I'm a consultant chef with Carpigiani now. That we go in there and I help educate students and they're learning the business.
Great.
So I do this business teaching, the basics and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and then we walk through and make ice cream product and different sorbets and Italian ices and things like that.
And so I love this
This is
because
great.
it is great because then here part of giving back,
yes,
and also benefits you greatly. But man, what you're learning as well as you're teaching, you're exposed to all this. That's
And then you're taking
great.
that back to your own store and making a wonderful product that we're going to taste here soon.
Absolutely.
And as a chef teacher, I mean, so are you coming up with flavors or different?
I'm laughing because
I know where she's going to say.
because every day he would come in and I would have just created a new creation. He said, "You got to stop coming up with these new recipes." And I'm like, "Why? People love the new recipes."
But could she recreate them?
And now someone else is recreating them.
Oh wow!
So at this point, we've made over 300 different flavors of ice cream
And Italian ice.
and Italian ice.
Actually, no, that's just ice
That's
cream.
just ice cream, I
Yeah,
believe.
Italian ices are on top of that.
Okay, so what is your favorite flavor? Who wants to start?
Mine is, or when we have a community, and it probably needs to go back to that was when we started. She was making all these wild flavors, and people would come back and for that same flavor.
Do you have
and it was-
chocolate and vanilla?
Yeah. We didn't even have chocolate and vanilla then when we started. And I was like, we've got to get these particular flavors in stock all the time. And so she started at least focusing on that. And then
We refer to those as community favorites.
community favorites,
Okay.
correct.
So we try to always keep those
So
in-house.
out of the community favorites, because that's the ones we generally always have, I like my Lunar Lemon, which is a lemon curd swirl throughout the ice cream with the lemon sandwich cookies thrown in.
Oh, wow.
So that's my personal favorite, but
You're welcome.
it's hard for me. I know that was her creation, but it's hard for me to pick just one because I like so many.
Sure.
Okay, but you did. You picked one.
Yeah.
You.
So my community favorite is our banana pudding.
Oh,
I like that too.
I love a good Southern banana pudding. It
You
reminds me
can't
of,
have just one though.
well, we just did another creation that right now has me breaking my diet for lately. And that is, you ever had a Zero bar? A white chocolate nougat bar with malt?
I've seen.
Oh,
them.
the zeros.
Zero, yeah.
Zero candy bar.
So we made an ice cream that kind of replicates that. We're still tweaking it a little bit now, but right now that is my favorite with almonds
Really?
almonds and peanuts in
Your
it. yeah.
favorite?
Right now, yeah.
I'm in trouble. Golly.
This is a news flash, folks.
I love zero bars.
Okay, we're talking about this so much. I think this would be now like the great time to go and
Get it from the
taste.
freezer.
Let's go get it from the freezer.
Oh,
All right, short break. Short break.
I didn't know this.
All right, so now we have the goodies.
Can I
in
tell you how
front.
happy I am?
You haven't even tried it
I
yet.
promise
don't
you,
care.
I've
I'm-
never seen you smile this much on a podcast, like ever. You're doing this.
Well, we talked about coffee, but for ice cream, oh yeah.
We're gonna not taste any yet, everybody. I just got out of the freezer here, so they said it's best if we just let it sit for another like 5 minutes or so. So we're
At
gonna
least
do
in what's
that.
called tempered
Oh,
is the fancy
that's a very
word.
chef term.
And my wife needs to turn the podcast off. You don't
And
need to
now, if you don't want to get angry, Heather, turn it off. Okay, so you've now like really become connoisseurs of ice cream.
We're unfortunately now also ice cream snobs.
Yes.
And
That's the bad
the,
part of
the
it.
other thing that's funny at this, so we are a household of 6 now, and we are all lactose intolerant.
Oh no! So do you make lactose free?
No.
Let you
and
tackle that.
yes.
Chef,
yes.
excuse me.
Well, you can't do lactose free necessarily because lactose is your fat and your sugars, the sugar in milk. So you can get around that through different plant-based milk products. So we do some non-dairy, plant-based frozen desserts. They are not legally allowed to be called ice creams because they do not contain milk and dairy.
Okay.
So we do those. We try to do sugar-free is a big thing. So we try to make sure that we have some kind of sugar-free now. Usually we're using a stevia sweetened ice cream. But I don't know. I think that
For us, making it fresh, I
Yeah.
could not eat that much ice cream. I could eat what we call our double dipper, which is a 2 scoop of ice cream. I can eat that fine. It doesn't seem to bother. It will make me gaseous.
Yeah.
But we've also
there's
been told that from other customers too that they can eat our ice cream and like a little bit not overindulge, which nobody should really.
Moderation.
The FDA says 2/3 of a cup, by the way.
Per day.
2/3 of a cup.
Maybe if you're good,
Oh my goodness.
but I think that's within that 2,000 calorie thing.
Okay, what does the FDA know?
Yeah,
Because,
right.
I mean,
Who can sit there and
Healthy
eat
bones.
2/3 of a cup? Not a whole cup, just 2/3. But it doesn't seem to bother a lot of people, so we kind of make sure we tell people that. But we also say if you are lactose
If you're
intolerant,
very sensitive,
that's we guide them on the dipping cabinets down to our Italian ices. You know, they're dairy free. You can
or
still
we try to also have a non-dairy.
indulge and enjoy a frozen treat with us, but it's just not ice cream.
so also you never stopped the Italian ice part.
Correct.
So we've talked a lot about the ice cream, but you were developing the Italian ice as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have made the creation of Italian ice with your ice cream. What's
Yes.
that called in your?
So in our store, we call that a roccatini, and different places call it different things. It's basically when we do layers. So it's served in a milkshake cup, and typically we put the Italian ice down first for about a half an inch to an inch. and then the ice cream, big scoop of that, pressed down into the cup, and then more Italian ice until we get to the top edge of the cup, and then we fill it up with whipped cream.
Oh my goodness, that sounds so good. That's kind of what. So my husband's from Louisiana, and so when I went down there, and they would say, "What do y'all call it? A snowball?"
Oh, the snowballs.
Yes.
Snowballs. That's kind
A
of how
stuffed
a
snowball.
Stuffed snowball.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd never heard of it, but they do.
I actually haven't either.
Yeah, so it's the same thing. The Italian
okay.
ice, but I think it's more soft serve. Is it soft serve? In the middle,
snowball?
No, yeah, the Italian ice
Or
and
the
it's
ice cream?
soft serve, and then
The-
more
I
Italian.
would
ice.
think the Italian, compared to a snowball, I think the Italian ice would be a whole lot smoother or delicate. Ooh, that's a fancy.
Oh my gosh, I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, than a snowball, the way that is. But yeah,
But did a
that's great,
snowball
too.
have soft serve in it as the ice cream portion?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Well, it depends. They've gotten crazy with
yeah.
all of them because you can get them with cheesecake in them and scooped
Oh, wow.
ice cream and yeah.
So
it's
that's the
nuts.
only thing I asked for, and I don't partake in many food things, health wise, just and not of my doing, and so that's the one thing that I am willing to hurt over down in Louisiana when we go to visit. But now I don't have to go to Louisiana.
Yeah, just got to go right across
right.
150 and you'll be there.
Okay, so then you've got your first location. You had 750 square feet. You expanded into the next space. When did your second kind of third location?
So in our second year, we went to the convention and we said we're not going to spend a lot of money at the auction. We're not going to spend a lot of money
And
at
this
the
one was
auction.
in Las Vegas.
This was in Vegas. We'd already spent a lot of money to get to Vegas, let alone the hotel room. Well, lo and behold, we started bidding on stuff.
We were in the auction mode again.
We got caught up in
Yep.
the drama of auctions, and we ended up bidding on a Nelson freezer, and we ended up winning the Nelson freezer. Well,
About 50% discount. so.
yeah.
Wow.
Okay, we don't know what a Nelson
Nelson
freezer
is the
means.
manufacturing company, and they're up out of Ohio. They're hand built up there, and so they're one of the more finer dipping cabinets that you can purchase.
They hold their cold really well.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
Wow.
that gives you a little.
And
bit
they're
back.
very durable as well, too.
okay.
years. You probably have Nelson cabinets that you dipped out of for years around you. You just didn't realize it. So we ended up winning the bid, and I told her, I said we were already contemplating. So that's kind of why we bid on it, because like if we didn't use it in a new location, we could certainly replace one of the less expensive coolers. Is where we started.
Dipping cabinets.
Dipping cabinets here.
We'd already upgraded the freezers to the actual dipping cabinets where you could actually go in and see the ice creams in front of you. Because most kids typically order by color,
Right.
not by the flavor per se.
Kids.
Well,
Everybody.
we're all kids
Yeah.
at heart, right?
Yeah, everybody looks in there, and I saw that too, and it's one of the I think it was one of my big pushes is when she started the way she did. I was like, we really need to get to dipping cabinets with glass forms, as soon as we can. So we did, and anyways, when we got this bid came up, I was like, she was on the other side, I'm over here, and I'm like,
I was bidding without him even knowing
Well, I also gave her the
but we weren't bidding against each other, so that was the good
Yeah,
news.
that was a question floating in my head.
yeah,
I could
no,
see that. Yeah.
just go for it because I knew the prices on these things and they weren't anywhere as close yet. So we got a hold of it. Yeah. So we ended up winning that. And that was kind of probably the secure
Yes.
in our heads
Did
that
you have to fly it back from Vegas?
no.
No,
No, there's a long story there.
The
Oops,
bid
sorry.
actually included the shipping, of
shipping,
it to
oh,
North
wow.
Carolina.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. All
And
right.
so we didn't have a second store at that point, but we'd been kicking around the ideas. We've been listening to other people in the industry as well when they started their second, third, fourth locations. And so kind of been following their model as well, too. And so we were looking for the right space. Where could we go that within roughly 30 minutes of where we already were? And our construction guy basically said, I have got a rental space if you want to look at it. And so we drove down to Midway, and he had a space. It was a beautiful space, but there was no parking. And that was going to kind of be, key.
No-go, yeah.
Well, in doing so, I found a little place that was vacant, and it was at the very end of a strip mall in Midway. And we called on it and went and met the real estate agent there, and it was a price we felt like we could afford, and negotiated, and
And we were able to
bam,
have
we
a
now have a second
drive-through.
store, and we have a drive-through at the second
You don't even have to get out of your
Yeah.
car.
So even in the winter
Wow.
when it's cold and rainy, you don't even have to get out.
Yeah.
This is awesome. Okay, so I have questions now about how, because really y'all did this very wisely. I mean, it was step by step, but you availed yourself to other people, like with the conventions. You availed yourself to figure out, hey, these are kind of freezer or dipping cabinets that we need. I mean, you really have kind of strategically gone through this process.
Yes.
It sounds like to me.
Yes.
And so my question is, how has it been having employees, and how do you split your time between 3 different locations and it all runs smoothly?
Ultimately, the goal for us is to be able to step back and not be in the locations.
Okay.
One, I'm hardly ever at the location because I'm the one that drives our shuttle.
We kind of sat down and we kind of said, okay, you handle the shuttle side of the business, and this was especially when we just had the 2 stores. So you handle the mobile side of the business in the summer for sure. I handle the brick and mortar side of things.
Which is really wrong to put the menopausal woman in the shuttle the whole time.
That's a whole nother
Yeah.
podcast.
Yes, it is.
I will have you on for that.
Yeah. So that's kind of how it ended up happening for us to manage both locations. Now we've got this new Midway location. And that was her thing goal was this year was to get a driver for the shuttle van. So she wouldn't have to be on it. And we did succeed in that as well. So that pulled her off the shuttle a little bit more. And now she's able to, she's got it back now because he went off to college. But
He just had to go back to college.
but it's nice to have it, and he's trained, and I think that he had a good
be back
experience.
next
He'll be
year.
back. So that'll help her next summer as well. But she's kind of taken, her goal was to kind of like think this Midway's my store, so it's her baby. So she takes that one and manages a lot of that side of things. I pitch in when I can, but that's kind of how we look at it. And then she handles the payroll. I handle the scheduling. We both kind of do hiring. We both do purchasing. She does accounts payable. So
is there an ice cream software?
there is not
No.
that I know of.
No, there is not.
Mm-hmm.
I wish there was
Yeah,
one.
I see that bell's going
Okay.
off. Yeah.
Is there, I had a really great
Well,
question. Oh,
Well, okay.
no,
do
go
it.
ahead. No, now I forgot again.
We do utilize software for different parts. We use a product called Connect Team to manage our employees
Schedules.
and communications.
Okay, yeah.
So I highly recommend it. It's been very beneficial for us.
We've tried just
also-
about all of them.
Yeah, we have tried several of them. We also use a product called RecipePal. It's kind of hard to say. And that helps us to manage our recipes. And you can also use it for inventory, but we don't.
I know in my experience, those types of tools, and I've watched different entrepreneurs in different trades watch that software develop through the years and gotten better. I know with one of our businesses that was such a nightmare. Probably within 3 years we changed 3 times, and it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a pull your hair out moment. So that's something else as an entrepreneur. You I think a lot of times you struggle with.
Right. And then kind of going back to the earlier question, I think about employees. We both managed employees before, but they really didn't work for us. We worked for the big company, and then we managed the employees under us. Now they work for us. So you not only got the management side of it, you got the HR side, the payroll side, that kind of thing. So
Do you make ice cream at both locations or just still at one location and disperse?
only at Oak Ridge and disperse from there.
Okay. And how has that been logistically for y'all to figure out?
A learning curve.
It's
for
definitely been a
sure.
learning curve, but it hasn't been a nightmare for us. We've now gotten things in check so that every Sunday night they send us an inventory of what they have, and then we have to monitor it from there. And so if they'll start running out of things, and make sure we've got it ordered. Literally today, I took ice cream down there to them, so they're ready to go for this next week. However, we have other things to drop off to them because they had not arrived to us yet that we've purchased, but they haven't came in yet.
Gotcha. Do you do milkshakes and all those things too?
Yeah, and kind of going back to the name part of it, I mean, it's not on our picture back here, but when we looked at To the Moon and Back, she was thinking Italian Ice, To the Moon and Back Italian Ices. And I said, don't. That pigeonholes us into just Italian Ices. So we kind of came up with this frozen treats because that just left us open to do ice cream, Italian Ices, sorbets, milkshakes, sundaes, ice cream sandwiches, pup cups, you name it, pretty much.
Banana split.
Banana
Oh, yeah.
splits,
Oh, yeah.
the whole 9 yards. That way, frozen treats. But
cookie
people
splits?
Cookie splits.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just take a nice big old classic cookie that's warmed, and then we split it, and put some ice cream,
scoop
your
of ice
choice.
cream on
Everything's
it
pretty
and
much
whipped topping.
customized for us. So you go into a lot of shops, and it's like they have this set menu, and people don't get that really from us. We kind of say, okay, here's your cookie split. What flavor of ice cream would you like? What toppings would you like? So everything's kind of customized. We have I think one sundae that is our turtle sundae, which is just we're vanilla, caramel, chocolate, and pecans, and it's very easy to make, but we like to
They're
have
delicious.
fun to change it up a little bit and give everybody that option to customize
Yeah, that's
it.
one of the things I did growing up quite a bit. Well, as a young adult, so one of the things I would do is hit different places that had ice cream, and I would do, I want a banana split, and I would try that. And of course, we didn't have internet back then or social media, because I'd have been plastering it everywhere. And then the other thing I did too that's related with ice cream is I would do chocolate malts, but I want it made with vanilla ice cream. I guess black and white is what they call Don.
It's black and white.
And I would try different, and I would rate them based on that. And one place I got so mad because they stopped using malt.
Oh,
Malts kind of disappeared for a while. We brought them back. I mean, we do malts in our shop.
But it's a unique thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
well, that's
it
great.
is.
I'm loving you guys more and more.
No, I know. So I'm going to flat out ask this. Where do you think your ice cream ranks among ice creams that you've tasted now from all around in these conventions?
Wow, that's a good question. I will say that during our Las Vegas, we enter in a competition for the National Association.
Okay.
First
And-
year we went we didn't know anything. So we were so
Yeah.
glad that we didn't enter anything. We just wanted to be able to take it all in. And we were so glad that we didn't enter anything after tasting some of those other ice creams. And we became friends with some other small shops that opened about the same time as us, completely across the country on the West Coast. And yeah.
So when we came back and we started thinking we can enter this, we got great ice cream, so let's enter it, right? So that would have been Fort Worth when we learned. Then Las Vegas, we entered into the competition only, and there's two ways to do it. One, you're entering in your chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry, and it's not really a competition for whose is the best. But it's feedback because
It's scored from Cornell University.
Yeah, sent off through
Oh,
Cornell
labs.
University. Lab reports come back on the bacterial count, flavor,
That was a good
consistency.
question.
Yeah,
Yes, it
all
was
that
a
kind of
great
stuff.
question.
So then you have, out of those, if you have so many points, you score I forget what the third place is, or if there was even a third.
There
place.
was a third
Yeah, I
place.
don't remember. Like third, second, and first, right? Red, something.
Blue, red, and white.
Yeah, white is the other one. I couldn't remember. So it's white, red, blue. So if you go to the top. So we came back with 2 red ribbons. For our first attempt, we'll take it.
Absolutely.
So, and we only entered in our chocolate and our vanilla. I wasn't secure on the strawberry yet. Newsflash, we entered it this year. So we also were able to enter in a flavor of the year. So we go through and you can choose any flavor you want that you think you're proud of and enter it in and see if it comes back as the winner of the year. So we had entered our Elvis in Space that year. And that's our banana pudding that you're going to partake here in a moment.
Yeah.
And a nice, rich peanut butter swirl. So you kind of combine the two.
And it's called what?
Elvis in Space
Well, the convention was in Vegas, and Elvis loved peanut butter sandwiches, right?
and banana.
And bananas.
Peanut butter
So
banana.
it just made sense to name it that.
So when will you know about that?
We have sent off this year's entries in August 6th is when they went out. They all have to go out all across the country. They have to go out on the same day. So they arrive in Missouri on the same day. And so
This is a
we
big
won't find
deal.
out
It's huge,
until
yeah.
November.
Oh.
The last day of convention, last evening.
You're going to have to let us know.
We will keep you posted.
Yes. Follow us on Facebook and Insta. That's where we'll announce it for
I
sure.
want that job.
Well, if you go to convention, you get to test all these
Yes,
ice creams,
there
and you
are
will be overwhelmed with so many ice creams.
hundreds of different flavors
Hundreds
to
of
taste.
different chocolates.
So, I mean,
hundreds of different strawberries.
In such a short time, though, you've already distinguished your ice cream in the top 3.
Yeah.
I mean, multiple flavor in the top. Come on, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're,
That's
we're proud
something
of
to
that.
be
We're
said.
definitely very-
And something that started for a totally great reason
Right.
at the beginning, and now look, wow.
I mean, I just look at that's such a providential. I know there's a little gnat in
Yeah,
here.
it's a
Flying
fruit
here,
fly.
flying
It's a
around.
fruit fly. I feel like
It's not fruit. Well,
to
actually,
the
you
end.
do have
Yeah, you
fruit in
have
yours.
fruit.
Oh, my soul.
I know. I'm
If you
gonna
go to
try
the
to-
edge,
we
you
ready
might be
for
able to get
this?
somewhere out.
I mean, yes.
So this is
I
our
can't wait any longer.
this is the chocolate peanut butter swirl, and then this is the banana pudding.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of the peanut butter because I really like.
All right. So I'm
No.
going to taste mine. Or,
Yeah, go
you're
ahead.
making me wait.
I'm not. Go ahead.
Actually, no,
No,
she's
I
giving you
don't feel-
permission.
Go.
You getting there?
Here, she's
Yeah,
got
I
a good
just
Yeah,
wanna-
spoon.
she's
Look
got
at
a big
that
old bite.
spoon. He is being good. Look at that
Yeah,
half spoon
yeah.
compared
Go
to
ahead.
yours.
See, that's it.
I need to
Then
smell
off
it.
camera.
It's a decantering moment. I
Yeah.
have no idea what that really means. No. Are we really going to be this?
I do smell.
snobby? Okay,
No, I
fine.
do. I always
Put it in
do
your
that.
mouth.
Be like a glass of wine or
Yeah.
something, you know? That's it. It's good.
Okay. Okay.
Do you need
Her
a
eyes
private
just rolled
moment?
back in her
I
head. you
see what you're doing here.
That is so smooth.
I want to mm-hmm. Okay.
Is that what you're getting?
So before you have to taste mine, I can't taste yours. It's got gluten in it.
Yeah, it's got Nilla wafers in it.
Before right now, this very moment, I had two favorite ice creams that were chocolate and peanut butter. Hershey's did the only one I ever knew, the Hershey's ice cream, but it's really, really hard ribbons through it, and it's very like
It's hard. Well,
It's
and we
hard.
still struggle with that too. As you'll see there, that's really hard.
no,
It
it's
doesn't.
not. No,
Peanut butter.
Yeah.
No, it's not like it was. No, not at all. It's more the peanut butter texture, the way that even I don't even know. I don't care if you can see it. I'm just-
It ain't gonna be around long.
And then there's one place in Calabash, North Carolina. Is it the Calabash Creamery or something?
Probably, yeah.
Right there, and they did a great.
They probably
one.
make theirs themselves. As
They
well,
do
too.
make theirs, but I am telling you right now, this is my favorite now.
And it's closer.
I know. So, husband, Jonathan, whenever I say I have to have, this is what I have to have. Y'all, it's so smooth. And chocolate, like you can taste the quality,
So that is what
All
we
the way
call our
through.
New Moon chocolate.
The chocolate
is our
bases
dark
are
chocolate
darker
base.
chocolate.
which I like that because you need that
Yes.
depth of flavor and it
To
not
counteract
be
the
s-
peanut butter.
So there's not, I don't say
There's
it's
no bitter.
It's not, but it combats that in just the right way, and it's not sickeningly sweet. So you really get to taste each of the elements that are in there. And
Me
then
want some now.
here,
I
I'll go get some.
can
taste
get
it?
plenty back in the shop.
Here, wipe your spoon off and taste it.
Yeah, because I don't want.
But you haven't given your review.
Look,
He's been eating.
He's been eating it while you were talking.
I grew up like in ministry and a lot of my adult life ministry. I love banana pudding. Old fashioned like banana pudding. That's spot on. And there's a smoothness in the ice cream that I really like. Yeah. You can't explain that.
it's just,
I can't.
It's fresh. You know?
I love listening to Audra describe food and different
don't eat
things like that because it's just like, oh wow, we talk about that depth of taste and flavor and layering and things of that nature. So,
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm
You
a
got-
big fan of dark,
Get some of that.
Yeah.
peanut butter.
big fan of dark chocolate. Anyway,
But it's not too dark. It's
Yeah,
like
no,
in
I'm-
between this
Just saying, I love dark chocolate. Too.
milk.
Well, we also make a milk chocolate now too. But yeah,
I like that.
this was when we started coming up with our chocolate recipes. They kept coming to me, and I was like, "That's not chocolate enough. That's not chocolate
Right.
enough."
You
and
want
it
Daniel,
has to
come over
be
here.
chocolate.
You have to taste this. No, I'm making you do it. Oh my gosh, he is not
stubborn.
He is so stubborn. Well, all I have to say is it's worth every mile that you've traveled and every moment that you've spent looking up recipes and figuring out the business and doing all that. The product speaks for itself. But really, before I ever tasted this, I already knew it was going to be good. I mean, I did.
thank you.
Because of the way that you are so detailed, and you know your business, you know your products, and you're confident in that. And that is why I asked you, where do you think you rank on in the ice cream world? Because you need to, as business owners, I feel this very passionately now, you need to be able to say, hey, we're really good. Like, I believe in what we're doing to, a different degree than a competitor, if you will. They're not even a competitor. You're in your own category. And I think that's what I am tasting here is somebody else, like you're in your own category to me.
Yeah, it's great.
So anyway,
And
I'm so glad that you guys have come on.
Yeah, no, and I also like too. You started with again an idea, something on the side, and obviously you've created something that is great and to be proud of and happy with. That's community loves.
And it's taking care of your family.
Yeah, it's taking care
and
of
it's
everything.
taking care of your other employees that you have.
Correct.
Yeah.
I
This
mean,
summer we were up to 24 employees
Yeah.
between the two locations.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
And our kids work there, so
Yeah.
they all have jobs.
Yeah, and that's a great thing
At
too.
13, my
I love
13-year-old works there.
Yeah.
13, 16, 17.
that. Yeah.
Well,
So teaching those entrepreneur skills.
Trying to teach them work
and-
skills.
Yeah.
And
You have
work
to.
hard.
Absolutely.
Pay off.
you have to. So what's next for y'all?
Third and fourth store. He knew that was my answer. I don't know
Yeah.
why he's acting shocked.
The fourth.
Oh,
Are you going to build your own franchise? Is that in the?
it's crazy expensive to get into franchises.
Yeah.
And right now we still don't have that kind of equity still built up, but
But also a little more, we're a little bit both control freaks.
and we don't want to relinquish that control to somebody else as well too.
That makes sense.
And if we do that, then we would definitely have to go with a larger machine, and then they'd have to buy it directly from us.
Oh, gotcha. Well, tell everybody where they can find you, please.
Well, if you're in the northern part of the Piedmont, you're in Oak Ridge. We're kind of centralized there, right above the airport in Greensboro. We have people come down from Reidsville and Virginia just to get to us. We have people come up from the south. So, but if you start to veer a little bit west, now you can reach us in Midway, which is, if people don't know where that's at, it's literally midway between Winston-Salem and Welcome in Lexington area.
Yeah.
So if you're in Lexington or the Winston-Salem or Clemens, Wahlberg, we kind of centered ourselves in the middle of all of that.
Yeah. And then your mobile.
And the mobile unit, yeah,
Shuttle.
she gets around with that pretty much to
Yes.
corporate events and parties, and you'll
Do
see us
birthday
all around
parties,
town.
church events, vacation Bible schools.
So they need to contact you for booking that out as well.
Yeah.
So where do we find you? What's the best way?
Best way really is our website, and that is To the Moon and Back Frozen.
Sorry, no, the website is Moon and Back Frozen.
Oh, it used to be our old one. Sorry, we changed it.
Moon and Back Frozen.
Yeah, .biz.
Yeah.
.biz. And then you're pretty active on your Facebook, Instagram, and now X.
Yes.
So they can find.
They can reach out to us there as well.
Right.
yeah.
Do you have anything in like the fall that's coming up that you want to?
Well, October will be National Dessert Month, so what better way to celebrate?
Celebrate.
We have lots of different desserts.
So
and
we have other
flavors.
desserts other than just ice
Yeah.
cream in our store in Oak Ridge.
Okay.
One of the other things we purchased through the auction at the auction convention was a Poffertje machine. And if you don't know what a Poffertje is, it is a miniature Dutch pancake that complements ice cream really well.
so good.
And
do.
and then we also have what we call in the stores a UFO. We take a brioche bun
Or donut.
or donut, we slice it in half, set it down in a special kind of panini press, put a scoop of ice cream on it, and then top with either sauce, and then the top of the brioche bun, and then comes down, closes it, and encapsulate it, and it makes it like an ice cream sandwich.
I was just saying that's a fancy ice cream sandwich.
It is a busy ice cream sandwich, but it is amazing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing.
That's warm on the outside and cold and
Yeah.
gooey
Cold
on the
inside.
inside. And we sprinkle it
Oh.
with powdered sugar and a little bit of whipped cream
Yeah.
too. So
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
yeah, so those are kind of fun.
Y'all have really educated me, I know, and I know our viewers and our listeners on a lot of different elements. And if you're not in ice cream, still, I feel like there's so many takeaways from what y'all have said. And
Absolutely.
so I hope that you listen to the whole episode and really dive into that. I know even as photographers, there's photography conventions. There's always ways to make improvements, and it leads you in so many different directions. I mean, you have your boys and you have a family, and now you are still teaching, which is what you love to do in a different way, and you're being creative and you're doing it together as well, and it seems like it's pretty harmoniously together. I like that aspect of it too.
Yeah, to me, this is a great picture of what the entrepreneurial spirit is all about, and it's a lot of hard work. Yeah. It's a lot of challenges, but look at what you can create. And it's amazing.
We love it when new customers come into our store and we happen to be there, and we actually encourage people to try our ice cream before they commit, because we want to find the ice cream that they're going to fall in love with. So maybe the chocolate and peanut butter wasn't your favorite. We won't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, it was.
But you don't know. You haven't tried them all.
I know, but that's all I need.
That's all you need.
Well, that's what we
Like
do
if
find.
you do,
But,
That's what. Yeah.
but I
People
don't,
set
so I'm
in their
like,
way
oh,
and
can
they
I
don't
have a
come up-
sample of
Well,
that?
there's-
Have a
yeah,
sample of that.
I mean,
So we have customers that Lunar Lemon that he was saying was his favorite. If they come in and we don't have that one, they won't even try anything else because they don't want to fall in love with another flavor of ice cream. And so they won't even they're not even willing to try a sample of anything else.
wow.
Yeah.
You've got them spoiled.
So we got a few loyal customers that we love. Yeah.
Oh, good.
That's great.
Well, thank you so much for coming and just
Thank you for
imparting
having
your story
Absolutely.
and your journey with us. And everyone, go look up To the Moon and Back on all the stuff. You've heard it. We've put it on Facebook, Instagram, and then we'll put the website here probably at this point. And then also, please tune in to our next podcast of Small Business Leaders Podcast to see who we have on next
Yes.
and what you can learn from that. Also, follow us at Legacy Podcast Studio on all the social medias: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. If you're on YouTube especially, or our page on Facebook, please give us a like or a follow, because that really helps you to know when we've put out new content. And as well, if you have questions or you want to be a guest on this podcast, send us a message. We would love to hear from you. That's exactly
what I did.
That's exactly how they got on this podcast. And there's so much value in a conversation like this, not only for you who are listening and viewing, but for you who get to have this content to use however you would like.
And go back and watch the other episodes, because the stories are incredible. They're amazing, and it makes you feel really good about the triad, our community.
Yeah,
man, it's
for
just
sure.
great.
And also, if you have a itch you want to scratch with being a podcaster, we have a studio, and it is turnkey podcast ready. So you can get in touch with us about that too. And with that, I say thank you very much. We'll see you next time.